It was 3 a.m. The whole house next door was dark, except for one floor. Then the shouting started. No power. No water. And all I did was flick off one valve. My neighbor thought he could steal from me and get away with it. Instead, he lost everything. Here's how I ruined a man's world without lifting a finger. If you've ever been burned by a toxic neighbor or wanted karma to hit harder than you could ever swing, you're going to love this one. Smash that like button, subscribe, and let's dive into a revenge story that proves, sometimes, justice is quiet, but devastating. I live in Asia, and recently bought a fixer-upper in the heart of our capital city. It wasn't glamorous, unfinished walls, half-done renovations, and not even a proper door lock. But the price? Perfect. Especially since I bought it from family friends who had left the country years ago and needed cash fast. The house had been sitting there, empty, for 3 years. No gate. No one watching. Which meant anyone could stroll in. And on day one, someone did. When I pulled into my new home, I saw a random motorbike parked in my garage like it belonged there. No note. No explanation. So I rolled it out onto the street. Later that day, some guy came knocking, furious, red-faced, demanding answers. I didn't even bother opening the gate. Just watched from my window as he shouted into the void, then finally walked away with his bike, defeated. That should have been my warning sign. But I brushed it off. Just a one-time thing, right? Wrong. Over the next few days, I kept finding my gate blocked. Cars. Bikes. Like the world still thought this place was abandoned. I eventually slapped a massive "No parking" sign on the gate, and that put an end to it. But a week later, while taking a shower, I noticed something strange. The water pressure was off. Weak. Barely a trickle. And at the same time, I could hear the rhythmic hum of a water pump coming from my next-door neighbor's property. This guy, an older man living in a 3-story house, had a reputation. He'd already voiced his anger about my purchase to the previous owners. Apparently, he wasn't thrilled about the house being sold. My friends warned me. But hey, I'm 6 foot with 3 dogs. I wasn't scared of some grumpy retiree. Still, that pump. The timing. It made my gut twist. I waited for it to turn off, then tested the taps again. And just like that, pressure was back to normal. Coincidence? Maybe. But I was getting suspicious. The more I thought about it, the more it clicked. When the house was empty, the water bills had mysteriously gone up. Everyone assumed it was just leaks. But they were too high for that. And now, the pattern was forming. Every time his pump ran, my water pressure dipped. That old man, he was siphoning water from my lines. At some point in the last 3 years, he must have had to I checked around but couldn't find where the connection was. The house was old, the pipes even older. He'd hidden it well. And I'll admit, part of me wanted to just let it go. Water's cheap. Even with all my usage, 3 dogs, a garden, washing my car weekly, my monthly bill barely hit $5. But this wasn't about money. It was about principle. It was about this entitled, sneaky old man who thought he could leech off my resources just because he got away with it before. I felt disrespected. Violated. And worst of all, underestimated. You know that feeling when someone uses you and just expects you to stay quiet? Yeah. That feeling. So I didn't confront him. I didn't yell. I didn't call the cops. Instead, I planned something quiet. Something simple. Something brilliant. On Monday morning, I waited. His pump kicked on, just like clockwork. That was my cue. I calmly walked outside, and turned off my water supply from the main line. Now, here's how water systems work in my country. There's a ball valve in rooftop tanks that detects when the water's low. When it drops below a certain level, it triggers the pump to start filling the tank. But if no water is being delivered, the valve stays open. And the pump just keeps running endlessly. It strains, overheats, and if your wiring's old, it can literally burn your house from the inside. Which, apparently, is exactly what happened. At around 3 a.m., I was drifting off to sleep when I heard voices. Hushed. Confused. Then louder. The tenants in the old man's house were up, stumbling around in the dark. Their lights were out. No water. No fans. No nothing. The shouting started soon after. They were angry, and rightfully so. Where I live, water and electricity are legally protected essentials. Landlords are required to maintain them. Failure to do so? Grounds for legal action. And boy, did those tenants take action. By sunrise, one had already moved out. By the next day, both had filed complaints with the police. And the old man? He got slapped with a hefty fine, $500. A huge sum in our country. And on top of that, he was forced to refund both security deposits, fix the wiring, and replace the burnt-out water pump before he could even think of renting again. A few days later, he showed up at my gate. Stoic. Silent. He looked at me and asked, "Did you turn off your water the other night?" I smiled, leaned on the gate, and said, "Oh yeah. My tank had a leak. Plumber couldn't come till the next day. Had to shut it off to avoid flooding the place." He stared at me. Flat expression. But I saw it. Behind his eyes? Rage. Embarrassment. Defeat. He just nodded. Said okay. And turned around. I never saw him smile again. He's moving out this Sunday. Back to his daughter's house. His tenants were his only income, and now they're gone. His little scheme to save a few bucks? It cost him his entire independence. All I did was turn a valve. No fights. Sometimes, the most satisfying revenge doesn't need shouting or chaos. Just timing, precision, and letting someone's own greed destroy them. 2 birds, 1 tap, and peace of mind? Priceless. If this story hit that justice nerve, hit the like button and drop a comment below. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever seen? And if you want more stories where karma comes knocking, make sure to subscribe. Because trust me, you don't want to miss what's next.